it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. All right, it is Monday. We're going to talk about something new that we haven't discussed before because something's happened on TikTok. And you know what when things happen on TikTok, you have to talk about it. But this is actually relevant because it has to do with some coverage that we typically do on this channel, which includes discussions of fundamentalists and various groups of polygamy. So before we get started, do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up. Also, subscribe down here if you have not yet subscribed and turn those notifications on so you know when I go live or new content loads. All right, so over the weekend, 3 young boys out of, I don't even know where, decided to release some information about their family. The 3 boys named Murray, Warren, and Merlin Blackmore broke their silence about growing up in a group in Bountiful, Canada, British Columbia. The 3 of them, who claim to be from the Blackmore family and the son of Winston Blackmore, are 3 of 150 children and from more than 26 wives. Wow. This family is very infamous in the country of Canada. Winston, their father, is actually known as one of the most prolific and notorious polygamists in the entire country. In fact, only a couple years ago, he was actually convicted of practicing having so many wives and ultimately served house arrest, which basically was a slap on the wrist because there was a lot of things that were going on with this guy that they didn't do anything about because I don't know why, because the Crown in Canada decided not to prosecute him on the most egregious things, including having wives that were 15 or 16 years old. That really happened. Okay, so 3 of his sons, Merlin, Warren, and Murray, have made videos on TikToks where they discuss why they're speaking out. Take a look.
Hi. So as many of you might know by now, my name is Merlin Blackmore. I was born into a polygamist in Canada, and I have 150 siblings. This picture right here that you see, that's my dad and 21 babies. That was me and my whole age group and the one above. 12 in my age group and 9 in the one above. That little boy that's on his lap, that's me. You want to know what's crazy? All of the babies in my age group all start with the letter M. That's how it happened. And the one above us, they all start with the letter R. That's how it is in polygamous groups. There's too many kids. That's how they keep track of you. But yeah, all of these kids in this photo are my brothers and sisters when we were kids. The fact that I'm just now starting to talk about this isn't new to me. I've wanted to talk about this for years. I could never talk about it though because I was still living inside the community, and if I tried to post things about this and I was living in the community, I would have gotten attacked by people. I literally had to move countries before I could start talking about this.
I'm 19 years old, and for 18 years of my life, I've lived inside a sheltered polygamous community. Nobody in my entire family, out of 150 siblings, has ever talked about the experience of what it's like to grow up there. One of them is this. I have 12 siblings, born in the exact same year as me, all starting with the letter M. Growing up, I always tried to hide where I came from, but it has only been hurting me, and I need to start talking about it now.
Is Warren. And as Murray and Merlin said in their other video, they're both my little brothers. And us 3 decided to come out and tell our story about growing up in a polygamous cult. Nobody else in our family of 150 siblings is doing that. It's just us 3. So it's actually really overwhelming at the moment, and I'm really nervous. We all 3 are. But your kind words so far has helped a lot, so thank you.
So the 3 of them started a few days ago Merlin's first video or second video ends up getting over 4 million views because he says that he is going to sort of break the silence because none of their siblings have ever spoken out before, which isn't actually true. One of their sisters actually just wrote a book about her time in this world, and one of their sister moms actually has also been prominently outspoken about this group. So they're not necessarily the first to speak out, but they are perhaps some of the first boys to say anything about their father. Now, they don't actually mention their father by name, but did discuss the fact that he had a lot of kids, that there was 150 of them. They discussed that they grew up in a church that had all schools together. They went to school with all of their siblings and their cousins. Their family was so huge that it involved so many different people. One of them Merlin described that when he was born, his entire birth year, everyone was named with the letter M. Murray went on to share at one point that the kids were actually given numbers and hats to wear so that their dad could actually identify them. These were things that were really brought up that I was actually kind of shocked. Now, the interesting thing here is that their brother Warren also talks about why he was speaking out, and they all seem to have this very similar, we need to tell the story, we need to lift the veil. Merlin actually said he had to leave the country to actually feel comfortable speaking out about his family, and there was a lot of excitement. People believed that we were finally going to get underneath that veil of this group. But then suddenly it stopped. So after they get a ton of information out, then videos come up by Murray and by Merlin basically saying that they're not going to do what they said they were going to do because they're not going to hurt their family. Check this.
So these last couple of days, I've been thinking a lot about what means the most to me right now. I've realized I've been talking more about the story of my family than I've been talking about my story. That being said, I just really need to take some time to focus on myself and my music. I want this page to be about me, and I want you guys to know who I actually am, like where I came from, how did I get into music, like what kind of things did I experience growing up? Not anybody else in my family. I want to talk about the struggles I faced. I want to talk about my low points. Most importantly, I want to talk about me. I'm still going to share the good and bad experiences I faced growing up in this family. I have so many that would blow your mind. But right now, I need to focus on me.
Me and why I've decided to share my music with you and become a musician. One pawn cannot speak for the entire chess game. And for that reason, I will only be talking about my life and not my family's. This channel is about
besides my experience. So there seems to be this sort of pushback from someone, I don't know who, that's how it appears, where they might be silenced to speaking out. So who is this family and why would this happen? Well, let's dial this back a little bit. Winston Blackmore, their father, is one of the most notorious polygamists in all of Canada. He is born in 1956, and his church was once a part of the FLDS under Warren Jeff's father. For more than 2 decades, Winston was a bishop in the FLDS, and his group in Canada was sort of the Canadian branch of that church. For many years, the two organizations, the branch up in Canada and the branch down in the United States, worked together and sent people back and forth for marriages. There were often the girls that were in Arizona were shipped up to Canada. The Canadian little girls were shipped down to Arizona. It was sort of this, we're going to swap because of probably, I don't even know, bloodlines. Who knows? At one point, when Rulon ended up getting really sick, there was suggestion that the leadership would be taken over not just by the leadership of the church could actually end up in the hands of either Warren or of Winston. Well, in 2002, Warren Jeffs ends up taking the church over, and as a product of that, he ends up kicking out Winston. Now, Winston asserts that he actually left the church and started his own church. And so in 2002, he ends up starting a church called the Church of Jesus Christ Original Doctrine. So Winston has had a very storied a very shady past. In 2009, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police actually charged him with polygamy, and they were then later thrown out. They reopened the case in 2014, and they attempted to appeal the case then. Ultimately, he was found guilty in 2017, and he, along with one of his church members, James Oler, actually were facing up to 5 years in prison, but they both got house arrest. So the special prosecutor, Peter Wilson, recommended a jail sentence of between 90 days and 6 months. He got 6 months of house arrest. So he has 27 wives, 151 children, and he has one of the charges against him that was never actually prosecuted was the fact that he was alleged to have had at least 9 or 10 brides or wives that were either 15 or 16 when he married them. And again, these were not legal marriages, so there were laws in Canada where these types of marriages would not have been legal, and therefore there was questions about, what basically Warren Jeffs was doing. There was the allegations that Winston Blackmore was doing. So there's all kinds of civil cases that are going on. Last year, Winston ended up selling off most of his property, and he owes the federal government in Canada a bunch of money for taxes. They are not in the same position as they once were when these kids grew up. But their father still has a lot of control and power within this group, even though financially the group is definitely not as powerful as they once were. We've had women from this group speak out, never boys. So the question now is, are these boys going to continue to speak out and share their stories, or did someone within this group scare them into silence to the point that they now are going to dial this back? No matter what the boys share, we should listen with open ears and open minds and hope that they can express and share what they experienced, because obviously what they went through is probably a lot to deal with. Seems as though these boys want to tell the truth, but maybe too scared to actually say anything. There could be a fear that they might be cut off permanently from their families by doing so, and there might be some trepidation about how much they expose. Murray was actually pushing back because he didn't like the assertion that the group that he was in was connected to the FLDS, and he was very adamant that they were not part of the FLDS and not part of Warren Jeffs' group, except they were until 2002. So in his lifetime they weren't, but they once were, and that's where his dad basically learned how to do what he does. So what are your thoughts about the boys speaking out? What are your thoughts about some of their revelations, and why do you think they have now stopped talking? Tell me your thoughts about this in the comments below. Bye, guys.